The nature of time, much like space, is perceived differently by angels compared to humans in the natural world. This distinction arises from their unique spiritual perspective, which significantly alters how they experience progression and change. For humans, time is fundamentally linked to the progression and change of sensory objects, particularly influenced by the sun's apparent motion. These changes, and the movement of the sun, create a conviction in the natural mind that time progresses externally, independently of the sentient being experiencing these changes. Angelic perception of time, however, is rooted in understanding its origin rather than its outward appearance. Angels intuitively trace the concept of time back to the mind and its state. Since space and its objects do not have a separate existence but are projections of thought, time too is not seen as an independent continuum but as a succession of changes within their minds that create representative appearances. In the spiritual realm, time and space are inseparable. Angels do not perceive time as a continuous existence of objects in a distinct space, but as a series of internal changes in their mental state. This perception fundamentally differs from the natural way of viewing time, where it is seen as an ongoing progression independent of the experiencer. As individuals transition to spiritual life, their thought processes elevate above the external effects of space and time. Death, for a regenerating person, is merely a cessation of thinking and willing in a natural and sensual manner. Consequently, they no longer regard space and time as the primary subjects of their thoughts. With the arrival of spiritual light, there is the realization that truths are not derived from some independent space and time separate from the perceiving mind. Although it is still the case that sensory objects appear within a framework of space and time, however, this framework is recognized as merely an appearance. Despite the elevated perspective, appearances of space and time remain crucial for angelic minds. Without these appearances, their interior states would not become perceptible to themselves or others. Sensations, affections, and thoughts must pass into the external objects of the senses to manifest interior states to angelic consciousness, allowing them to discern the deeper meaning behind these representative effects. In both the spiritual and natural worlds, objects defined by space and time set the boundaries for thought. In the natural world, the fixed nature of space and time, along with their perceived external independence, establishes the limits and distinguishes natural thoughts from spiritual ones. One significant challenge for natural thought is comprehending divine omnipresence and omniscience. The natural mind tends to erroneously believe that God is the inmost principle of nature, equating his presence within the external space and time of the natural world. This misunderstanding arises from attributing a distinct existence to space and time independent from their mental causes. The perception of time and space in the angelic mind reveals a profound divergence from the natural human experience. While humans perceive time and space as external, independent realities, angels understand them as reflective of internal spiritual states and changes. This distinction highlights the spiritual principle that external appearances are manifestations of internal conditions. As individuals progress in their spiritual journey, it is to be expected that their understanding of time and space will transform. They begin to perceive these constructs not as fixed entities, but as fluid expressions of their inner life, reflective of their relationship with the divine. This shift in perception allows for a deeper, more intuitive grasp of spiritual truths, transcending the limitations of natural materialistic thought in spiritual matters. Ultimately, recognizing that time and space are generated by subjective states of consciousness encourages a more coherent understanding of divine omnipresence and omniscience. It liberates the mind from the fallacies of natural thought, enabling a clearer perception of the divine operations in both the natural and spiritual worlds. There is a need to rise above the fallacies of the senses to truly grasp the nature of divine presence and time from a spiritual perspective.